Hey, we're live today. We're going to be talking about how to lose weight without feeling hungry. Because here's the thing, fighting hunger is a miserable way to lose the weight and it's unsustainable. I don't know about you guys, but when I was in my 20s and 30s and I tried to eat these tiny meals all the time, I was ravenous and I would find myself binge eating at night or on the weekend. So maybe you can relate to this because I've been there and I've done that. So today we're going to talk about how you can eat less, okay? Because yes, we can't just eat whatever we want and go crazy, obviously, but in a way that's going to leave you feeling full. It's going to leave you feeling satisfied. It's not going to be horrible, miserable plan that you're trying to follow. So you can actually stick to what it is that you're doing, because that's one of the key components of losing weight and keeping it off. If we're just forcing ourselves to starve ourselves for 4 weeks or 8 weeks or however long, what's going to happen when we go off that plan, right? It's going to backfire into eating everything in sight because we feel so deprived from not being able to eat what our body actually needed. So it's going to backfire. So we're going to dive into this topic today. But before I do that, I have a high protein breakfast guide that's going to help you implement what we're talking about here. It has 20 tasty, delicious, will leave you full till lunchtime recipes to kickstart your day. So if you want to grab that, just drop protein in a comment down below. I'll get that over to you. If you guys are watching live, I'll drop the link because once the live is done, I can't go back and respond to you guys. So I want to make sure you have the link. But if you're watching the replay, drop protein below. I'll send you a private message to get that over to you. So let's dive in. So let me know if you've ever, maybe you're on a diet, maybe you've tried a diet where you have tried these little tiny meals. I know for me, it was like chicken, like a little piece of chicken and broccoli, or I'd have like oatmeal for breakfast, right? I know I've worked with a lot of clients over the years who have done things where they've had to eat, like a single protein bar as an entire meal, or you got this little package thing that came, in the mail, and it was like, it looked like a child serving of food. Let me know if you've been there, done that, because I'm sure if you're here, it's probably an experience that you've had. And so we're gonna talk about how we can move away from that so you can start feeling good on your fat loss journey, because this is one of the biggest things I'm really fighting against, is this idea that fat loss has to be miserable. It has to be awful. You have to feel starving and, drained the whole time you're doing it. In fact, the better you can feel, the longer it's going to stick. And then you can make it become a lifestyle. So not only does the weight come off, but the weight stays off, right? Because that's what we truly want too. We don't want to just lose the weight for it to all come rushing back on. We want to take it off. We want to keep it off, right? So let's dive into this, okay? And I appreciate the love for you guys that are on. Hey, Cynthia, what's happening? Hey, Eric. All right, guys. So number one, okay, so we're going to talk about two big things here. And the first one is this idea that we have to really restrict our calories. So part of the reason that we might be eating tiny meals to begin with is because our calorie goal might be something insane like 800 or 1,000 calories a day. And if you missed it, I did a video just last week on why 1,200 calorie diets are keeping women stuck. So be sure to go check that out. Check out some of the past videos if you're on a fat loss journey. Now, here's the thing. The problem with these really low calorie diets is they are going to ramp up hunger. They're going to ramp up cravings. It's no wonder we get to the evenings and we want to binge eat everything in sight, or you get to the weekends and you feel like you are just completely out of control because you're fighting hunger all day long. And the key thing with that is a lot of these diet plans out there, whether it's these nutrition meals or bars, or even just, a plan where maybe you're making your own meals and following, trying to stick to 800, 1,000, even 1,200 calories for most women is going to be way too low. Okay. So we're restricting calories 50, maybe 60% of what our body even needs to maintain our weight. That's a pretty drastic drop, which is going to be, you're basically starving your body, right? It's going to have some negative consequence, right? We just can't do that. So when I work with clients, what I do is I put them in a mild calorie deficit. We go 15 to 20% instead of 40, 50, 60%. So this does a couple things. One, it keeps their hunger and their cravings at bay. So they're not running around starving all the time. The other thing it does is it allows for a little fun in that diet, right? So it's a lot harder to have a sweet treat after dinner when you're only trying to eat 1,000 calories versus maybe you're trying to eat 15 or 16 or 1,700 calories instead. Okay. The other thing that by going 15 to 20% will do is it will also keep your metabolism from compensating. So when we start to drive those calories down too low, there's ways that our body will compensate. We'll tend to move less. Okay. It might even start impacting sleep. Right. And so we can even start burning off muscle, which lowers our metabolic rate. These are not things that we want happening. This is where a lot of that rebound comes from because we're trying to go so low. There's a metabolic compensation that now when say you were eating 2,000 calories before and that's what was maintaining your weight, now you start doing that and you're like, why am I gaining even more weight? So this is why women might lose 20 pounds only to find themselves gaining that 20 pounds back plus an extra 5 or 10 pounds because we've impacted the metabolism in the process. So when we're cutting calories to lose weight, we want to do it in a mild deficit so that we're not impacting the metabolism. We can keep that metabolism fired up. We can keep that muscle and maybe even preferably even gain muscle with strength training while we're trying to lose fat. And that's going to give you more longevity for your fat loss and allow you to do it in a way that's realistic and that's sustainable. So let me know in a comment below. Does that sound more fun? Like not slashing your calories so low that you're starving, but that you can actually like have a little room for fun and it feels better and it's easier to stick to. Like I know it seems like we want that fast route of cutting the calories faster, but all that becomes is a cycle of doing it for a couple days or a couple weeks and then going completely off track. And what I see is women will, they'll eat 1,200 calories for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. And then when they aren't tracking or they're not on that plan, all of a sudden it's like 3,000 calories a day. We kind of tend to ping pong too far from one end to the other. So when we can kind of meet it in the middle with something that's more sustainable, that's how you're going to be able to stay on track and make it work for you. So if you're not sure how many calories you should be eating, I've actually also put together a calorie calculator that will help you figure that out. So just drop calorie in the comments down below and I'll be happy to get that over to you as well. All you do is just plug in some information that's customized to your age, your height, your weight, your activity level, which is really important to factor all these things in to give you a more accurate number of where you should be. So just drop calorie below. I'm happy to get that over to you as well. Okay. So that's the first piece. Okay. Now it's not just about fat loss. It's not just about how many calories we eat. It's important. How much we eat is going to impact our fat loss results. But what we're eating, when we're eating, is going to be the key factor that helps us to feel full, that keeps that hunger at bay, that keeps the cravings at bay, that helps us to feel nourished and energized and all the things that come with making healthier, cleaner choices. So the types of foods that we're eating are going to go a long way. So I want to talk about 3 things to focus on when you're putting your meals together, your meal plans together, whatever that might be. All right. So the first thing is protein. And I love that protein has gotten pretty popular over the last few years. It is not a fad. It is not it's not a magical thing either. It's kind of one of those things where our body needs protein, right? Just like it needs water, just like it needs oxygen, right? So for our metabolism, for our to build muscle, for our body to do what it needs to do, right? We need protein. But why I love protein is because a lot of times when you think like a chicken breast, right, for example, it has a lot of protein. It doesn't have a ton of calories, right? When we eat a donut, right, it has a lot of calories, but it doesn't stick with us, right? If you eat that chicken breast, it's going to stick with you longer. You're not going to find yourself as hungry because of the protein in that meal versus something like a donut that's very sugary, very carby by itself with really nothing else in it. You'll find yourself hungry an hour later. I know my breakfast used to be like a bowl of Cheerios with a glass of orange juice, and then I'd put some milk. So it was very just carb focused, and it would be a lot of calories, but I would feel hungry like an hour later, and I'd find myself eating like a granola bar and then eating another granola bar. And I would find myself snacking all morning long because I wasn't really eating something that stuck with me. Okay. So when it comes to fat loss and trying to eat less, it's not about starving ourselves, but the right types of foods like protein that will fill us up, that will stick with us longer. So try going to have like a breakfast with like high protein, like cottage cheese, or having Greek yogurt, or having some eggs with some chicken sausage. Like pretty much every morning I do now. I have a couple of eggs. I sprinkle a little cheese in there. I have a chicken sausage. I'll do a little bit of cottage cheese with some fruit on it. Very high protein breakfast. And I am just good till lunchtime. And I feel like I had a lot of food, but it's not a lot of calories. I could have 2 donuts, which might be the same or even more calories than that. And it's a lot more food. So when we start to eat, and that's really the second thing, when we eat processed foods, okay, so sometimes we're getting, especially I feel like in the last, 20, 25 years, where all these snack foods became really popular, right? Obviously, these companies want to sell all these snack foods. So they're trying to push like eating all these snacks and eating all these things all the time. Well, not that we can't ever have that stuff, right? There is always a time and a place to have some sweet treats and some processed things and stuff like that. But what you guys will find is when you compare something that's processed, right? Like you could drink probably 300 calories of a soda and feel like you literally just had nothing at all, but it's still 300 calories, right? But 300 calories from whole foods, maybe you have, I mean, an apple, what is maybe like 60 calories or something, right? Like you could have an apple and a piece of string cheese and even like a small handful of nuts, and probably be the same amount of food. And you're gonna feel a lot different eating those whole foods than you are having like that soda, right? It's gonna be more filling. So the more you can focus on getting whole foods into your diet, whole fruits, whole vegetables, right? Nuts, lean meats like chicken and fish is great. Even having, beef and things like that once in a while too is going to make a bigger difference than having a lot of processed foods, right? It's kind of like chips, right? Like I could probably down a whole bag of chips, barely feel like I ate anything. But if I had baked potatoes, which I love roasting potatoes with the skins on, that's going to fill me up a lot more. I'm not going to have to eat as much of that to feel full, right? So it's not always about eating less food. When we start to switch to higher protein foods, more whole based foods, right? We're going to feel fuller from those meals that we're eating. And because these foods have less calories or less calorie dense, we can eat more of them to hit our calorie goals than if we're drinking, say, 500 calories of soda, right? Big difference there. Let me know if this is making sense to you guys in the comments down below. Debbie says she just had an apple with a spoon and nut butter. Yeah, I love it. So combining that stuff together, right? And I'm a big fan. I always tell my clients, no carbs, right? So having a little protein or a little fats with that apple is also going to make it stick with you longer. So great job there, Debbie. Having a nice whole food snack that's going to stick with you longer. So I love that. Great idea. So the last piece, guys, so protein, right? More whole foods and fiber. Okay. So Debbie just had an apple, getting in fruits, getting in vegetables. You guys, I can't tell you how many people now are starting to get scared of fruits and vegetables, right? The keto revolution came around, and now all of a sudden fruit is bad for us. Fruit is not bad for you guys. Carbs are not bad for you. Okay. Especially as women over 40, we need to have carbs in our diet, to feel energized, right? Even for hormones. I've seen women go on keto and start losing their hair and their thyroid is lowered, right? Keto for women for over a long period of time can be very problematic. Okay. So, fruit is okay. You can have fruit. Who likes hearing that? Me, I love me some fruit. A lot of times, with that breakfast with the eggs and all that, I forgot to mention, I usually have a little, I love those little like tiny mandarins or tangerine type oranges. It's like the perfect size for just me. So having fruit, right? Having vegetables into your meals, it's going to add more volume, especially vegetables where there ain't a whole lot of calories and things like lettuce and broccoli and green beans and asparagus and all that stuff. So load up. That will give you a lot of volume into your meal without a lot of calories. So you guys, if you're having a lean meat and you're having vegetables and you're having maybe a little bit of fruit in there, and you can still have carbs, maybe some rice, maybe some potato, you can get a good amount of food on your plate but to hit what you need, feel full, and still stay in your calorie goals in order to lose the weight and get those results. So that's the main things that are going to help. So it's not about eating less. It's not about these little tiny meals, and you shouldn't feel starving all day long. Yes, you're going to get a little hungry sometimes. So maybe like an hour before your meal, but you shouldn't be running around 5 hours, from breakfast, and then you have like 4 hours to lunch and you're starving that whole time, right? That's just asking for trouble. That's just asking to find yourself binge eating at night, or, getting home and snacking as soon as you hit the cupboards, or the second you walk in the break room and there's sweets out there. It's going to be a lot harder for you to resist that stuff if you're coming from a place where you're hungry and you're starving and you're undernourished, right? And we also want to think of this from a standpoint of, right, for our metabolism, for our fat burning to kick in, we've got to fuel our body. I know it seems weird. We've always been told to eat less. Okay. And we do have to be mindful about how much we're eating. We can't just go crazy, but we have to get enough of the right stuff in for our body to do what it needs to do to function properly. It's like the gas we're putting in our tank. And it's really hard to get enough gas in the tank if you're only eating 1,000 or 1,200 calories. Okay, so we've got to get that good stuff in, that protein, that fiber, those whole foods, that nutrition, right? That's going to allow your body to do what it needs to do and feel your best. When you feel good and yeah, all of us would rather eat cookies than maybe an apple with some nut butter on it. But that's going to be way more enjoyable than trying to force yourself to eat, say, like plain broccoli if you don't like it. You know what I mean? So we can find things within there too and have flexibility with that to find proteins you like, to find things with fiber in them that you like, to have whole foods that you like. You're not stuck with just you have to have a grapefruit for breakfast, right? So we can have a lot of flexibility too when you're putting your nutrition plan together, to use these principles to find things that you enjoy and that you like and that you look forward to, so that you can actually stick to what you're doing. Okay. All right, ladies. Cynthia says she's eating a piece of chicken and yogurt and a salad for lunch. I love it. So she's getting her protein, she's getting her fiber, her whole foods, some yogurt for some extra protein, maybe a little as a little treat as well. So I love it. So thank you guys for being here live and for joining me. If you had a takeaway or something that resonated with you, drop a comment in the chat below and let me know. I'd love to hear what it is, and I appreciate you being here. And I have some really good news. I'm going to be going live every single Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So if you enjoy these, I'm going to be here every week. So block it off your calendar. And I'm probably also going to stream this. If you're more of a Facebook person, I'll stream it here, but also to Facebook as well. So you can join me in either place. But again, I appreciate you being here and joining me today. And if you guys want my breakfast protein recipe guide, drop protein down below, because this is a great way to take these principles of having filling, whole food, high protein breakfast. It's going to kickstart your day so that you can feel amazing. And that's going to trickle down into the rest of the day. It's going to help you make better decisions. It's going to help you feel more energized to get your workouts in and just really set your day up for success. So drop protein down below, and I'll be sure to send those 20 tasty recipes over to you. And I look forward to seeing you back here next Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Okay.